Yeah, although he doesn't like getting coffee.
Good evening. Hi. We are going to get started. Jack is on his way down. He's going to make sure there aren't any stragglers out there and make sure he opens the door for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Edith Corrington. I'm the Bilingual Director of Community Outreach for District 201. Really appreciate you giving up your summer to be here with us and provide us with some feedback. For those of you that have been with us already, it's going to be the very similar format, so it's going to sound very familiar, but we truly are here to listen to you today. You're not going to hear much from us in terms of engagement. We really are here just to listen to your feedback and determine next steps for 201. So as we engage today, we ask that everyone please adhere to some simple rules here. We want you to speak your truth, but remember to stay kind. We are here to seek solutions and truly listen to your feedback, but we have to respect each other. We want to listen to understand. We're not going to respond. And then remember that everyone has a voice. So we don't want anyone dominating the conversation. We want to make sure that we hear from everyone here tonight. So we have a format, and actually because it's a smaller group, I think we're going to head back and sit in one larger circle instead of two small circles. I think it makes more sense. And then what we're going to do is have a speaking round. So I know a lot of timers. We're going to have each one of you answer. There's going to be 2 questions. Each one of you will have the opportunity to answer that question for 30 seconds, a minute, as long as you need. And then after everyone has the opportunity to share, we want to make sure everyone has that chance. There's going to be open dialogue, and Leah, our board member and president, has graciously offered to take notes. That way you guys can really focus on the conversation and the question. And then at the end, we will just have one reporter. So maybe Ron can be our reporter, and we can take the stress off of you guys. It's basically sharing what Leah is going to write. So any questions? Okay, off we go. Let's go back here. We are going to begin. There are 2 questions, and we're just going to go around. And when you're done, you're done. If you don't take up the full minute, that's okay. If you need a little bit more time, that's okay too. We're going to try to stick to that minute. So the first question that we'd like to hear from you is, as we work through concerns with our facilities.
You got something coming here?
Yay! Hello. I don't have to introduce myself. He knows the drill. Join our circle. As we work through concerns with our facilities, what feedback or input would be helpful for us to hear? So as we continue to work through the needs of all of our buildings, what's really important that we know and we hear? What feedback do you have for us? So who would like to start? Keith or Courtney? Would you like to think?
Sure.
All right.
Can we find out what you guys have learned from the last 2 listening sessions? We want to know what your feedback is from the last 2 listening sessions. Instead of getting ours now, I'd like to hear that.
Perfect. Okay. Joe, do you wanna share, or do you wanna skip?
I'll skip. I'll wait.
I know you're just listening as well.
Wait
so.
here. What do you want to say first?
Okay. You ready? Can you introduce yourself? You actually haven't seen you before.
Yeah, no, my name is Shamari Holt. I have a daughter that is going into 1st grade. She goes to Miller, and she loves it. The teachers are wonderful over there, and we live down the street. So this is my first time being in a board meeting. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Wonderful. Can we go back and can you introduce yourself?
Tim Herman, H-O-E-R-M-A-N. I have a daughter who went all the way through the district, is now a college graduate and starting graduate school in a couple of weeks.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, so you ready? And the questions back there if you need.
You want me to go?
No, I think she's gonna go.
I guess I would like to know, how are you reaching out to parents like me? Because there should be more parents like me instead of, no, you know, I mean, we
know.
love,
Okay.
we
I'm not offended.
we love that you guys are rooting and standing up for the little ones that are still in school, but what are we doing to reach out to moms, dads that still have little ones? Because there should be more of us here versus, you know, parents of children that have graduated. So we all have concerns through the school year of what we see, meaning things in the classrooms or just the facility kind of breaking down old. They deserve much more. I just want to know, how can we do a better job at reaching out and getting other parents more involved so this room can be full?
Thank you very much. Okay, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mike Fletcher. I live actually a block and a half down the street here on Linden. And no, I don't have any kids in the district. In fact, moved into the community 2019, so my kids all went to school outside the district. But I've been impressed with what I see in terms of the rankings of the school. So I guess along those same lines, I'd like to know, you've been through so many iterations before of an attempt to pass, you know, the bond, and it hasn't been successful. So you've heard probably every negative comment you might hope to hear. Maybe not. So along those lines, what are you developing as your way of responding to those to kind of put the objections to rest? Okay. Anybody who's ever been in the sales environment knows you listen to someone, when they object, you take it seriously, you respond to it, and you put it to bed. And you can't do that with everything, okay? But it's really important that you do that and take those negative votes and turn them.
Thank you so much for your feedback. Okay, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Eileen Saxa. My husband John and I have lived here in Westmont since 2003. We have 3 children who have all gone through the district. I also am a teaching assistant here in the district, and I have worked at the junior high and South, and now I am at Miller. So I have seen both sides of the ins and outs of the district. When we first moved here, we used to get a quarterly flyer that told us about what was going on in the district. I think we need to continue that. I love that we now broadcast the board meetings online, or online, so people know what's going on, but there's other ways that we need to reach out to everyone in the community, young and old. I don't know how to do that, but we need to reach out to more people.
I appreciate your feedback.
I'm Keith Naga. I lived here for 50 plus years. Talk about, you know, what's wrong with the school, this, that, and the other. And I think if we go way back to the beginning, when you hire that consultant and you put the gloom and doom out there that the school is falling apart, and then the thing with the pool, how all of a sudden, you know, we're gonna listen to you, we're not gonna fix the pool. And you knew full well that Hinsdale was paying to fix that pool, the $100,000. You knew they were gonna do that, but you kept pushing the pool scenario thing. And I think it's the communicating, the pictures that you sent out from that company that we paid a lot of money to, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No, we have some accuracy. We did not.
All right, how much?
I think the total bill for that consulting firm was $85,000.
Okay, all right, I'll settle for
That's very different than hundreds of
Okay.
thousands.
All right, 85,000, the first round.
We
Have we
didn't-
paid them again?
I think that's total for the year, including the second round. We didn't really employ them very much at all in the second round.
Uh-huh. But I think that has alienated a lot of people. And as, I don't know if I had a child here and I knew you were just not doing the maintenance and the upkeep, and the boiler seemed to break the day before the school board meeting, and I can't get over it, and a lot of people can't get over it. I was at the fest this weekend, and there is not a lot of support for moving this school. I'll tell you that right now. So it's gonna be a hard push to make sense out of, you know, of abandoning these two schools to build new. I'll tell you that right now.
Let's hold off on that because that's part of the next question.
Okay.
Anything else that you wanna add?
No, I
For
just,
this?
you know, I'm an old man, I've seen a lot, and honesty is always the best policy. You know, when you put a slide in there with a hole in it on a brochure, when everybody knows that was vandalism, that was, you know, it's like, at that point, you lost me, you know, so it's like, and you lost a lot of other people were saying, you know, so.
Can I just, so I get good hearing what you're saying? There was one slide that you believe was somehow doctored or something? One
And
slide?
not-
No, I was
not-
referring to the
not-
playground here.
Yeah, playground.
There was a
slide.
picture of this slide that was caved in.
Yeah.
Could be vandalism, could be the fact it's 25 years old, sitting in the sun for,
But I'm sure it was remedied that day, as soon as you found out, I'm sure. Yes.
remedied that day. No, it took us 6 weeks to get the slide.
Did you, I mean, it was cordoned off, it wasn't used?
Yeah, we actually had to disconnect it.
Okay.
So we disconnected the
I was gonna say,
entire.
I walked down here, I mean, there was crime scene tape, if you will.
Yeah,
Okay,
covering
that's what
it.
I'm just saying.
It was not fixed immediately.
Right, but I'm saying, it's not like the kids are on that slide every day, you know?
Well, they were until we closed it because it caved in.
Okay.
So then we had to
In a
start.
day?
Well, when it happened, it was
Okay,
a safety
yeah.
hazard.
Yeah,
We
right.
closed it down.
Right.
We started looking into a replacement for the slide.
Right.
Slide
So,
cost
I mean,
$5
so it
grand.
wasn't operational, it was shut down as soon as you were aware of the situation.
Right.
That was
Okay.
responsible thing to do,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But again,
But
it's a $5,000 slide.
I realize.
It required replacement, required a 6-week lead time. In the meantime, we
Well,
also.
I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just saying that the slide wasn't in use. So to show that as, you know, something that's,
It was used as an example to explain the facilities. Things are getting old, things are falling apart.
when was
things need
that,
attention.
when was that done, that playground?
It was a PTO project, I believe 25 years ago.
It was.
And what's the new one? Where's the new park built? Did you build another?
Sullivan's did
No.
that. right
Miller has a
before.
newer playground, which again was another PTO project, I believe. So it wasn't district funded, it was
Yeah.
PTO funded.
Most of the playgrounds are PTO
Let's keep
funded.
moving.
Okay, yes, we are going to move, but we're gonna make a note that, I think the theme for me with you, Keith, is trust. And so
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
think when
yeah.
there's a
I mean, I
picture of
could
a
go on.
broken slide,
Hours.
I think you guys start thinking about what can that really be, but, so I
Yeah.
think that's important to note,
Yeah.
and we're gonna move, so Courtney?
Hi, my name is Courtney Templeton. My youngest just graduated from high school, so I guess I'm no longer a district parent. But I've lived here a long time, and I'm a high school, and I teach at the high school. I teach English. I taught Avery. I get so frustrated with people not listening to each other, and I am passionate about education. I am passionate about this district. When we moved here, we didn't think we were going to stay. And then things happened, things changed. And my son, who just graduated, is starting college with 39 college credits before he's even walked onto campus because of this district. And I feel like there are so many people that are so narrow-minded and just nitpicking little things. So I really wish, I guess, to answer that question, I'm trying to be good because I try to follow directions, but I think that the district needs to respond to concerns. I feel like in the last round, and I hate that it happened on Facebook, but in the last round, there was a lot going out there and nothing was countered or explained. And so if there's a concern about the slide, then it's valid to say, no, you brought it up. So it's valid to say that, but then you need to listen.
Well, I realize that, but that picture shouldn't have been used.
Why?
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 It's
There
evidence
was
of
a
the.
problem with the slide.
Was
It
it
cost,
vandalism or wear and tear?
why does that matter?
Was it-
$5,000 to fix it, a
So-
district expense.
But it doesn't matter whether it's vandalism
Or wear and tear.
or wear and tear, because if it was vandalism, then the message was wear and tear, and that's why we need new things, right? But if it's vandalism, there's nothing you can do about that, right?
Right.
And we don't need new thing, I mean, we need to replace it, but that's not the reason that we needed a new school, was because of vandalism. So
Correct.
if you don't know what the reason is, then I agree with Keith, you shouldn't have put the photo on there. And I think that's what he's saying.
Okay.
So,
Then let's move beyond the slide.
yes.
I'm
That's-
finished.
that's-
Thank you.
Thank you. But more, I think more communication, maybe about the pictures, maybe more information.
About concerns.
If we're about concerns. And I think addressing concerns when we hear them, I think I heard that, and I think that's really important. Because if something is going to be posted on Facebook, I think it's our responsibility to ensure that they know the truth.
Mhm.
Okay.
My name is Stephanie Fletcher. I live down the street. We have no children here in the district. But our kids went through really, really good schools, and I think it is a community's responsibility to provide that education and that proper environment for the kids coming up. We all went to good schools. Somebody paid for those. Somebody in our grandparents' age or our parents' age, somebody provided for those. In my opinion, it is the community's responsibility to ensure that that continues to go forward. And obviously this school with the Blue Ribbon High School has a lot going for it. And it would be really sad to see that not continue.
Thank you. I think we've had conversation as we've been discussing, and so I think we're gonna move to question 2. And we'll do a very similar format. So the second question is, if you can all look over here, what alternatives to the proposed referendum would you like to see explored? So, you know, as Keith was talking about earlier, the proposal was that we build one school. So what alternatives, what other ideas would you like to see explored as we move forward? Again, there is no decision. We don't know what we're gonna do moving forward. This is why we're here to listen to you. But as we take your feedback, what other ideas do you have? What would you like to see? Keith, I'd like to start with you actually, because you mentioned new facility will not go, so your idea is to keep 2 schools?
I mean, I'm gonna pick on you tonight because you're the maintenance man and you're here.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Have you
Well, we're actually not going to do that. We're not going to pick on anyone, and we're not going to ask them questions. You are going to provide us with your feedback. We will, as a team, join forces and make sure we address your questions, and Joe will be in the room.
I think that, I think the people would like to see a breakdown of necessary repairs, that immediate, not so immediate, and long-term goals. Doesn't seem like we've saved money for any projects. And I think it would have been nice to have seen from somebody that works at the facility a list and breaking them down into certain areas that could have been knocked out over the summer projects. I don't know what's in line for this summer. Summer's almost over. School starts in a month.
Not quite.
We barely passed the halfway point.
So,
August 20th.
and I think that would have been, you know, nobody ever speaks about Miller anymore. What is exactly wrong with Miller? I mean, it was, so I think if 3 bids, 2 bids, anything, just to show some expenditures, you know, outside the people we have now.
And along those lines that Keith's talking about, I think it should be broken down into needs and wants, because I think some of the stuff that is being argued that is needed is more of a want than a need. And
Do you
I
have an
really think it
example?
should be, sure, the boiler. So,
in both
so,
buildings.
so the boiler could have been replaced, the boiler, but the argument was we need to replace the whole HVAC. The whole HVAC is a want. The boiler is an immediate need to make the building at least functional. Okay, so say the HVAC would cost 8 million, but we could do the boiler for X. And that would, to me, that would be a need versus sort of a want or something in between. So give us sort of that scale of what's going
But
on.
eventually you're gonna have to get that other fixed. It's just like if you were at your home and your air conditioning goes out or something and then something else happens, you can put a Band-Aid over something for only so long. We have children in there, and that's concerning to me. So fix it, fix the whole thing. Why the hesitation? We had flyers in our community go out for people wanting to say no. Clearly they need more information and more detail so that maybe you can turn that no into a yes and they feel more comfortable and they trust you, because that is the issue.
But how are you gonna raise the money to do it? And that's really the big issue. The issue isn't should we build new buildings, it's how much does that new building cost and what's the effect gonna be on residents? And how do we get to that point? So I agree with you. Let's put the HVAC in. How do we pay for it? You know, do we go and use alternate forms of financing? Do we try to be creative and find ways to get that money? Or do we just go out and ask the community to pay for 30 years a bunch of money? And that's a lot.
Can
That's
I
a lot of
add my
people's objections.
clarification in that before? I think we're getting beyond.
Yeah.
Like, one step that Keith went and he started out saying, well, the ask was, what do you propose? So I haven't gotten any proposals yet. But I want to say, just going back to what you're saying, like wants and needs, I think that makes it subjective. And I think we need to get away from that. I think something we've tried to define, maybe it's more helpful, because we're talking about what information do we need to get out. I think in the list and how you do it, take the subjectivity off of it, like it's a want, because how do we define that? You're saying a want, another parent can call that a need, but I think priority, high priority, you know, medium priority, just to say like how many years you have something on, it's first finding that definition. Let's define how we want it broken up, take the subjectivity out, make it objective. Is this high priority? Is it a years thing that, you know, you only have so much years with this particular equipment? That, I mean, and I don't have the answer, I think, but we have to find the best way to say, to me, high priority, this has to be done. And like, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Shamari.
I think, what is it?
Shamari.
Shamari.
Mhm.
I think it's important. I think about my house. Like, I think, you know, it's high priority to have my air conditioner, because if it goes out, I'm in trouble. But then somebody comes and then they say, oh, but this part of your house doesn't work with this, what you need to put in, so now you have to do this. So then it becomes a little shaky, because that high priority was my air conditioning unit, but my house doesn't function without this new piece, and then so everything just comes jumbled up in there. So I think it becomes a little shifty, but the way we give the information, I think, is important, and finding ways to define that for our community to say.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So it's just the boiler comes up a couple of times. So how can we best communicate the risks that come along with that project? Because here's how I understand the boiler. Yes, we can replace the boiler for X number of dollars, $80,000. And in that work, we also have to replace X number of pipes. And in the process of opening up walls for those pipes, we run the risk of, because once you open up a wall, you have to bring something up to code. We run the risk of, well, there's asbestos in the buildings. That's a guarantee. There's asbestos in every house and building that's older than 30 years.
Yeah.
But that we know, we don't know how much and how much remediation might be required. But my point is, like, there's many of these projects now that have the potential to snowball in a way. So while, you know, we can list it out and say, yes, this one line for boiler, you know, is $80,000. How can we communicate that that boiler line is also connected to 3 other lines that we may end up having to do that maybe are not as high priority and we don't have a choice? We have to do them because we have to bring something up to code. How can we communicate that better? Because I think that is at the heart of the boiler issue, in part, and I'm just using that as an example because you brought it up. But right, we can have a list of, because we have to list things out independently. We have to look at just the boiler and then also package them into things that make the most sense. How can we communicate that better, that nuance? Because I think that is something that I have struck. How do we communicate that nuance between those two things?
And I think in construction projects, they have contingencies that are built into projects for that exact thing.
If
That's
I
how
could
you
speak about the boiler scenario, all in, if you think of a car, and I've used this example 100 times, if our boiler is a problem, the steam system in the rest of the building is as much of a problem as the boiler. So if we put a new boiler in on an existing steam system that does not work, we have no return on investment. We've spent your $80,000 on a brand new boiler to work in a building that we cannot control the heat in because of the remainder of the heating system. So when you look at that scenario, if you think of your car, if you have a transmission problem, but you have a good motor, things have to work together. So you're not going to replace one without the other. In this situation, we have a steam system that is ancient. There is no reason to put in a new steam boiler on an ancient steam system.
How much to change the system out?
Well, the steam system goes throughout every wall buried in
every wall in the building.
Yes, you have steam supply lines going up, you have return lines coming back.
Now you are talking about remediation.
You're talking about remediation, you're talking about breaking through brick, you're talking about making new chaseways, you're talking about a whole HVAC replacement project. When you get to that level, now you're weighing your options. Is it worth piecemealing this building together that way? Or is it worth putting in a new system here? If you're gonna put in a new system here, you have to up the electric in the building. It's a domino effect.
How do we communicate that? That's my ask, because I don't want to get too deep into this, but how can we communicate that more effectively? How can we communicate it on paper?
I think it's very situationally based, and it's different in every building. You have that situation here. You have a similar situation at Miller School, where Miller is not steam, you have radiant heat. So you don't have the failing infrastructure of that system. It's not steam, it doesn't corrode inside, there's chemical in the water. It's much more maintainable, it's a lot less involved.
It's a generation removed too, it's that much newer.
Right. Additionally, you have the high school. You have a very unique system at the high school. It's a 4-pipe system. It's a very elaborate system, very equipment-based. These things all cost money. And when they all start to go at the same time, what do you do? What can you do? It's not a maintenance item, it's a replacement item.
Yeah,
The needs
like
of-
specifically, right? Keith, Tim, you guys have brought this up a couple. How can we communicate that better for you guys, for your team?
I mean, for me, it would be, let's get behind gut rehabbing both Miller and Manning.
How sound is the outside of the building, that we could keep the outside and just gut the inside.
How do we communicate those differences between deciding to go down a gut remodel versus?
I think you gotta go almost an itemized cost approximation.
A blueprint?
The guys who run the building, and I'm sorry, your name again was?
My name's Joe.
I just wanted to refer to you as
He's
the guy.
director from the district.
Okay.
I'm the guy who runs the building.
Probably have a more intimate understanding of what's going on inside this building. I mean, I can look at it from the outside and say, God, it looks old.
Right.
And I can look at all the window air conditioning units and thinking, well, those are fun to take care of.
Right.
But the issue is that if you can break down what are the projected possible costs of that, and then weigh it versus a new building. now you might be able to see some leveling out and people go, well, if it's only a 15% difference by the time you do it,
Right,
let's just put the new building in.
right.
Yeah, but the problem you have with that is, where's that new building gonna go? And I think there's objections to where.
Right.
Understand.
I think
building
separate
goes.
People want it
And
here in
Yeah.
the center.
Yeah.
They don't
Separate
want
of that
everything
aspect of the
at one
conversation
place.
though, there needs to be an understanding of each building's pros and cons. I have the most intimate knowledge of that. It's very difficult for me to get that out to public, to common folk, to understand what the scenario is. Internally, we've always had an itemized list of prioritize. Just making that digestible to the public is a scenario in itself.
But it sounds like it's needed.
It is.
But I think
Well,
it
that's
is, we're saying that we're here, we can't say everybody wants it here, or everybody wants it there. What we are trying to reach here is everybody wants information. I think we can agree on that.
Yes.
We can't say what everybody wants or what they prefer.
I mean,
don't
it's
have
just
that.
like when you have your own
Right.
home,
Right.
and you know things have to be replaced in your home or fixed in your home. You figure out how much it's gonna cost for everything, and then you prioritize. Which one do I really need to fix first?
Yes.
I think also people need to know, parents need to know how bad it is.
Yeah.
Like tell the community how, like what you're dealing with, that you have to prioritize.
Right.
Like I can only fix this because this is all that I have money for. Like
Right.
that will hit. Trust me, you will have more parents here, but it needs to be put out there. We need more information from you, from board members, to show us the ugly.
Yeah.
To
But
get to the
the-
beauty part
but-
of it, and it's
That's gonna beg the question of why don't we have the money? So if you say we don't have the money to do it, then you're gonna have people who are gonna ask, why don't we have the money?
So why
to do
don't we
it?
have the money?
Well, that's a good question. Let's give
Let's-
the answer
let's-
to
Can
that.
you
vet that out?
Well,
Why there's no money for me?
Why is there no money
So
for maintenance?
we have done this, go ahead, Jack, I'm gonna let you do that, but
That's another
I think it's all in information and how, because there are answers for that. I don't like the implications that it's mismanaged. The biggest thing is the budget for the schools are used to pay your teachers, your staff, your salaries. That is the huge part of what money, how we deal with the money here. It's not, we don't have that luxury. You don't take money from parents, from the communities, from taxpayers and put it away and you have all this money. We're gonna, for our big bill, you just don't do it. You have to pay teachers, you have to pay staff, you have to get materials. That's what we have money for. So, and that's the way, it's not just me, District 201, it's not, for the huge part, and the experts speak to you more, we have tried this, but again, I think the question is how we communicate that, how do we let people know? And I think it's a matter of, this is what we have, this is what we do with our money, this is what, how you wanna see spending or what happens. We have our newest expert here that is gonna help us with that too. And to answer those questions, because people, it's obvious, a question from the community, what do you do with your money? Answer that, and then you start to answer and what we need. And that's the biggest thing, is how do we communicate our needs and what needs to be done in our buildings. So, and so I don't know if you wanna speak more, just a quick answer to that, but.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all. One piece, for example, if you look at
I'm sorry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure, yeah, my name is Ryan O'Connor. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Business. One piece, it's not necessarily an expense issue. If you've been following the news, the federal government is freezing $6.8 billion on educational programming. That's going to affect, now we're have to find, I don't know, anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 that we normally wouldn't have had. ESSER funding's gone. State funding right now, the governor has looked at to wanting to find a balanced budget, and there's going to be ways he's going to be doing that. What they do is they're getting rid of what they call mandated categorical funding, so that less kids have dollars for transportation. So now how do you do that dollar amount when people are asking for it? There are issues with that, and as a whole, in every district, and unfortunately in Illinois, it is a local property tax issue when we talk about that, because the feds and the state, especially the feds, are not holding their end of the bargain. So that's one piece. We'll talk about it more later.
But I think too, like another thing we stretched with, like, how do you tailor your information? Because some people they want the just top level, they're not like you guys, and want a little bit more.
I have friends that
So
are
how do you-
597 guys, excuse me, 597 guys. Sure. They're coming out with stuff all the time with these split air conditioning
Yeah.
units, the
ERF systems are
boilers.
very popular.
I mean, there's stuff coming out every day.
Yeah.
They could retrofit into here. That's
Absolutely.
what they do. They work in Oak Park.
That's what these two are.
Yeah,
This is
so it's,
retrofit
you can
AC.
zone them out, and the technology is there nowadays. And I think, you know.
But it's not free.
It's not free, exactly. At
Well,
the end of the day,
nothing's
it
free.
costs money.
Well, but.
And it's gonna cost just as much to do
I was
that
gonna
as to
Well, we
build
don't
a new
know.
school.
We don't know.
Well,
Do we know?
We should study it for another 5 years then, I guess. So,
And let it really fall
Did
apart.
they,
yeah.
would you go,
Here's, I have a question. I've lived here since 2019, and I live just down the street.
This is something that should bring the people of the community together. And I understand there's people who are not in favor of this, but we have to find a way of getting beyond the way this country is right now, which is divided, and say, okay, what's really best for this community? I have a home, my taxes will go up considerably, and I'm 73 years old. I should probably be one of your most negative people, but I'm not. Because I'm figuring that I'm paying forward because someone paid forward when my kids went through school. And it's an obligation. I'll just leave it at that.
I was just gonna say, when my husband and I moved here in 2003, the reason why we moved here in 2003 was for the schools.
Well, it's a very
It
good
was
selling
for the
point.
schools. The western suburbs and the city of Westmont, it was a small city. We wanted that small city environment for our kids, that they would get all the opportunities possible. If you go to Hinsdale or Naperville, you try out for a team, you probably are not gonna make it because there's so many people trying out and they can only take so many. Here in Westmont, you try out for that team, you're usually on that team. You're in any productions that you want to be in. That's what we liked about this district. When people ask where I work, when people ask why did I move here, it's for the schools. The problem is, when my kids were here back in the early 2000s, it's the same as it is now. It's like we've put these little Band-Aids on it. We've never really fixed the big problem.
But it's
And
also
that's
the
what we
value
need to
that
do.
you got
Right.
for the schools.
Right.
And
Right.
that
And
value, and that value now is, you know,
It used to be way up here, and now all of a
right, if our
sudden-
taxes go up to a point where,
Right.
where,
Well, no
where
one
they're
wants
as
to
much
pay
as,
more
where they're as
taxes.
much as Hinsdale, then why wouldn't people move to Hinsdale to pay those same taxes?
Well, they're not gonna
that's-
have the same
But
opportunity.
that's where you made
They're not gonna
the-
have those same opportunities.
That's where you made the best point of the night, by saying if we say we don't have the money, we have to explain why we don't have the money. And if you look at that, we don't have the money because we haven't had a referendum for 50 years. So continually, the community and the schools supposed to grow together, and we are not able to grow based on that. There is not enough money to continue the education and setup that we have. There's just not enough money based on not a referendum for that long of time.
So that may be one reason, but there's multiple
Right,
reasons.
but the surrounding towns, if you look at, like, Westmont is not Clarendon Hills or Downers Grove. Downers Grove has ballooned in the last 25 years because of a growth in the town. There's been a boom there. This town has continually stayed small. You've been able to live in this area on this train track between Hinsdale, Clarendon Hills, and Downers Grove. This is a gold mine on that train line. Because there's been no referendum for this long, taxes have been able to stay low, but because of that, we as a district have not been able to improve things and keep up with things. So you continually are falling behind year after year, decade after decade. There was the TIF program that would have really bailed this building out, and that TIF program did not develop. COVID happened. There's been delays. I don't even know where that situation is by now, but at the time, that would have been a plan to bail this building out. In bad luck, whatever you want to call it, that's a situation that the district has to live in, and without money, we can't get out of that, which is difficult. And then as you see things starting to diminish and crumble and need more money and more money and more money, and then it's, we really need all of this, should we just focus on a new building? And then it makes sense to go to have that conversation, to go that route. Could we pull it off? It would really change the district.
So, thank you for bringing us back. So that was where we were going. We have heard in other listening sessions, so new building is one option. Some other things we have heard is building on Miller, keeping both buildings as they are, and gutting and renovating them. Before we close, any other alternative solutions that you think we need to explore as we move forward? Those are some of the things we've already heard. Is there anything different?
Are there any building grants that we can?
Okay.
There are.
Exploring building grants. That's okay.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Clarify for me. The state budget that the school works with, is there a huge amount of that budget that is dedicated to building maintenance and building repairs?
They've actually taken away.
Would be.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the way life is, and that's the way the state law reads.
Property tax supported capital budget.
And that, to me, is a key point that has to go out to the district. Because people keep talking about, why aren't you saving money to do all these repairs?
We're looking for alternative funding when
Yeah.
there isn't.
And
That's
better
not
solutions.
how schools work.
Exactly. And I think that has to be a point that really needs to be driven home.
Yeah.
I personally don't want this district to be sitting on $35 million with the hope that in the next 3 years they'll build another building. That's money that can be put to much better use. It's not the same as with your house where you say, okay, here's my roof fund and I know I'm gonna have to replace the roof in 5 years, so I can earn interest on that savings account. The school budget doesn't work that way, and I don't think any of us want to see the school district sitting on a chunk of change with the expectation that, oh, down the road we might need to use it.
Well, I have to say, that is why the system is set up.
To do a referendum.
Exactly, so you can't, because imagine if a district was abusive and wanted to hire additional people and pay people way more than maybe you could afford, you would utilize the funds that were meant for that. So the system is meant to, in one way, protect the taxpayers with tax caps, and if you want to expend something of this magnitude, you have to ask your taxpayers. So exactly your point, you can't have so much money built up. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's a rarity that you would be able to save so much money to do the kind of repairs. The mechanism for that is a referendum. The one thing I really would beg, and reason we really in our hearts, and I stand by it, but it's not my decision obviously, thought that building a new building in the middle of 50 acres of parks was the best option, but that's not my decision to make, obviously. But what does the community be open to? Is it, as like you said, you talk to a lot of people at the fest, they don't want to, your term, abandon this building or Miller. If the community says we really would prefer renovating the 2 existing buildings, okay, that, I think at the end of the day, it may cost as much as building a new building, but the community gets to decide. But that's in part, there's the question. If you don't like the new building at the location we proposed,
come to these meetings and say
something.
something.
Well, I mean, I think some people are.
Yeah.
So that's
But
what we
not
want to
enough.
know. If the better alternative for the community, and we're not done with these, we're done with this series. If that's what the community would prefer, let me tell you something, the board is hungry to listen to that. And so all of us are. If that's the preferred, to renovate Miller and Manning, that is not what the survey said, but okay, whatever. If that's the true consensus of the community, that's something we should talk about.
Yes.
And one of the things, you could please.
I just want to, you said that the board is hungry for it. I'll speak as a member of the board.
Yeah.
I'll say, this is just my opinion, I don't know if Dina and Leah shared or any other board members. I don't wanna be a board member that leaves my time on the board having kicked the can down the road for another 10 years while we evaluate and evaluate and evaluate and question and evaluate. Whether it's building a new school, renovating schools, whatever, these problems have to be solved and they cost a ton of money. Money that isn't available through alternative financing, through better, smarter solutions, through cheaper boilers or more expensive boilers. This is only attainable through a referendum, what we need to achieve. Again, whether it's renovating, building a new building, or whatever we do, I don't want to have been a member of a board that just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, like I believe the people that came before us on this board have done. So that's what it is. It's not about building a new building. It's about solving this problem for at least a generation down the road, 20 years, 25, 30 years down the road, not for 3 years. So that's what this member of the board is about.
So how do we get that out to the whole community? That this is what needs to be done. It's either this or this. And we want to hear what your feelings are.
Yeah, I don't think that the community disagrees that something needs to be done about the schools. I think everybody that you talk to agrees that something needs to be done about the buildings. But they don't know
how much it's going to cost.
They don't know how much it's going to cost. And
how it's going to affect them.
What they do know is that funding schools, all the money comes out of their pocket.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter whether it's in the building side or the operations side. But I think some people say, figure a way out to make that hit, whether it's on the operations side or the building side, less for us. And then if you make it less on the operations side, maybe we'll be more willing to vote for a higher referendum so that we can do this stuff.
I'm sorry.
I know you disagree, that's fine.
Well, no, but I have to disagree with your statement that everybody wants something to be done to the buildings. That's what I disagree with. I did a fair amount of canvassing in November and again in April, and there were an awful lot of people that just were very content to leave things as they are.
That is cool.
And a lot of those people know what was going on in the building.
No, they don't.
And that's why they want everything to be content, because they don't know that there's something wrong.
And a lot of them.
And that's what we need to project to the community.
And it's an older community, and people don't have kids in the schools, so they're not as tuned into how bad things are within the schools. That's information that has to get out there. But I've talked to too many people that would have been very content to just leave things exactly. A lot of these older people are
eventually going to be selling their houses to younger families.
Maybe
that
not.
are
Maybe
going to
he's gonna die
have kids and.
I have an appointment at 6:30. I don't want anyone to think I'm leaving
No,
because
What's your sense on what people?
Well, I don't think
about
people. You guys are all new to Westmont. Okay, you're not, from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. It's a different community, and you guys, I don't think you're grasping it. There's generations here. Generations moved out of the city in the 60s and the 70s. It's a very tight community. We're very tight.
And it's stagnating. It is flat out stagnating. If people continue to say nothing has to change, and I don't want to see it to change.
But I think you look at it, we all did okay.
But this isn't now. That was then. This is now.
And that's the point. So
I used to survive on $30,000 a year, and just have a luxury vacation.
As a citizen,
that was then. This is now.
And I'm gonna say, as a citizen, I feel like that's the problem, Westmont, being a newbie, as you want to call me. That people are like, oh,
I did just fine. I went to school. It was just like
it should be fine.
It's not.
I would not have been able to live here during that time that you came here. There was discrimination going on. So should I have just said, oh, I'm not going to move there because that's just not the way it used to be? No, you have to move. You can't be stagnant. You have to fit. So I grapple with that because I don't know if giving them information about how old this building is, if that's going to do it, if their original reason is I had it that way, I wanted to stay.
Well,
given that much information, does it matter then?
I don't know.
If they're already saying, I just wanted my own
I just
way.
want my daughter to be able to afford to buy a house, and when taxes go up like that, my daughter's never gonna be able to afford to buy a house.
I mean, people got
And
hit
that's the
hard
problem.
this year.
Yeah.
I think it's two ways.
So you're
It's
worried
an
about your
investment.
daughter,
Right.
and I'm worried about my daughter
Yeah,
that's in
I
first
want your-
grade.
I want
so
your daughter to be
where
able to
does
buy a house,
where
too.
do the generation
Yeah.
that are in these buildings, the teachers that do amazing work, you're worried about your daughter that is graduated and buying a house.
I'm worried about your daughter too. I want your daughter to be able to buy a house also.
But it's not just buying a house. I want your daughter to have a high value house.
Right.
That you're comparing Hinsdale and Clarendon Hills. My house should be worth more
But with the
because it is
taxes,
found
they're
schools
never
that
gonna
are
get
here.
there.
I think
It's
you're really reducing the problem of home affordability to this referendum when it is barely the tip of the iceberg. And you know that, in fact. You know that wage stagflation over the last 35 years is the reason that my kid who's 26 can't buy a home here or anywhere else. It has nothing to do with referendums. And you know that,
But it has to do
but
with
you
tax-
say it
but it
anyway.
has to do with
And
taxes.
it's intellectually dishonest of you
It
to
has to
do
do
that.
with taxes.
No,
and that's
it's
the
intellectually
problem.
dishonest of you to say that the reason that people couldn't afford a home in this district is because of a referendum. It's intellectually dishonest.
And we haven't passed one in 50
that's
years.
across the
So
country.
if that's
People
the
can't
that
afford
lane,
houses anywhere.
Anywhere, in the city of Chicago, in the state of Illinois.
We haven't
So
passed
raising
one.
taxes isn't gonna solve the problem of people not being able to.
It's
buy a house.
barely the tip of the iceberg, and you know that on top of it all.
What I want to give my kid is a house that's worth more than it was, and that's the greatest thing. So yes, I
Yeah.
paid the taxes, but they get a house that's worth more. They have an investment property that is worth more. It's not stagnant at a price that I got that was in 2000, the year 2000. It's worth more, and I know. And I said when I was canvassing, I spoke to a senior, and that hit her. And she's like, I don't want to give my kids a problem. If I say, hey, this house is worth this much, this is how much I have in equity, and a huge part is because we have these schools that people want to come to, that builds supply and demand. People are demanding this better school. You want this better school district, you're gonna have to pay, so it offsets. It may not be a huge thing or, necessarily getting rich, but I'm giving them more, and that hit her. Just saying like, yeah, I do wanna give that, and I know it's a sacrifice, or this is my investment that I'm doing. No one likes it. No one likes paying more taxes, and we do, but this is the one investment I know what my money's doing and going towards. When I pay higher taxes to the feds, we hear about deficits and things like this, but this school district and this money, we know exactly where it's going, and that's the investment I care about, because it's reaching kids, and we have to, tell people that. The people pay for it. I'm not going out to ask everybody to pay for my kids and their education. I'm investing in it. My community is investing in it. The village is investing in their kids to be better. We're not asking for handouts and asking for, hey, you company over there, pay for my schools. If I was a company, I would be like, you don't even want to invest in your own schools. Why should I? We have to find a way.
We have time for one last comment, and then we have to close because you guys have another meeting.
Yeah, we do.
In like a
And
minute.
like now.
In like a minute. Any?
Agree or disagree, thank you very much for giving up your free time to be here tonight. I thought this was an excellent meeting in many respects.
Yes.
And we are gonna continue to listen but thank you for being here.
I just want to say one thing. Again, I don't have the history, okay? But I do know that I hear a lot from people who are not in favor of complain about mistakes made by past boards, okay? If that was done, then shame on them. And unfortunately, you can't go back and undo it. But you gotta look at today and ask yourself, do you trust this board? If you don't, then just come out and tell them. Say, I don't think you're being honest with me.
He has.
Okay?
I mean, look at the high schools cost us over the years, because somebody thought it was a great idea. Who would ever build a building like that to begin with?
Okay, but we didn't build.
I know
it.
you didn't, but I'm just saying.
You should have
I'm
based
saying.
your trust on
I'm
me as a board
saying.
member on
That's
on a
where
building that was built
you
50 years ago.
The day that the school opened, we're like,
But how
this is
unsuccessful
the
are they?
silliest-
What is the big
silliest
loss that
thing
we
they
have?
ever built in their lives.
Well, I think.
You mean the
I'm gonna
architecture or
speak
what?
to-
Yeah. I mean, it was,
But it was built.
you know, there was a piece of cardboard in
It
your
was
class.
built. It was built with the pretense that Pasquinelli was going to be residential.
Yeah.
So it was built for that size.
Yeah.
And then Pasquinelli went commercial. And then you have a building that's 160,000 square feet that you built projecting that many students.
And that's in the past, and we have to look at now and move forward.
I do want to clarify, I do want to say something really quickly about previous boards' decisions. Previous boards made the best decisions that they could make based on the information that they had.
Oh, I'm not knocking them, but. you know.
But I want to be,
But a lot of
right?
people have.
It just, yes, it just so happens to be that those decisions have landed on this board, and that this board is committed to not kind of continuing to kick the can. However, those boards could not have possibly known that the TIF was not gonna be as successful as we were really hoping for. They could not have possibly dreamed of COVID and all of the issues, right? So they made the best decisions based on the best information that they had. They also had failed referendums and failed attempts to raise, so, and they did what we're doing, which is what our job is, to ensure that the students of this community get a great education.
Yes.
We can't control, our job is not to control home prices. Our job is to make sure that the students of this community get the best education. So they did that, and I want to applaud them for that, because they've made lots of really great choices that have put us in a better position. And also, that doesn't stop us from wanting to stop kicking the can.
Okay, so if you turn to the screen, this is really important to us. How did we do? Do you feel like you were able to speak your truth? Stay kind, respectful? Do you feel like you were listening to understand and not constantly just responding? Do you feel like everyone had a voice? No one dominated the conversation during our time together? Do you feel like we accomplished that? Yes? Okay, great.
I think you just need to let the community know what all transpired.
Yes.
Well, we got it all taped.
You will. We will get together and.
Well, continue to try to get more community members here.